Hi everybody. Today I'm going to be talking about the region of Alsace, and I thought for the last week of every month I would do one specific wine region or style in a bit more detail. So for the next 5 days I'm going to be talking about the region of Alsace. We're going to be going into a bit more detail, a bit more focus on this area, so that hopefully you can get a bit more out of it than when we do short videos normally on, a specific grape and we just give an overview. So today we're going to be talking specifically about the geography of Alsace and the key grapes that they grow there. So the first thing to know about Alsace is that it's a region in France on the eastern side, bordering Germany. It's just north of Switzerland and just west of Germany. And it has the Rhine River just to the side of it. So on the other side of the Rhine River, there's the German region of Bas-Rhin. So it's very, very close to Germany, and there is a lot of German influence in the winemaking as well. Lots of single varietal wine being made here, which is different to other parts of France where maybe there's a lot more tendency to blend. You can get blended wine in Alsace, but there is a lot of focus on single varietal as well. So in terms of the other key points of the geography of Alsace, well, there is a really distinctive sort of difference between the elevation between the north of Alsace and the south. So in the north, where you've got Strasbourg, the capital, the elevation is lower. So it's called Bas-Rhin. So I'm going to spell it for you. Everything I say today, I'm going to spell it for you in the blurb, so don't worry too much. It's a lower elevation, but it's in the north, and it's called the Bas-Rhin, whereas the southern part of Alsace, it's a bit confusing, but the southern part of Alsace has a higher elevation, so it's called the Haut-Rhin. So it's almost like the opposite of what it should be, because the northern is called the Low Rhine, the Bas-Rhin, and the southern bit is called the Haut-Rhin, the higher elevation one in the south. So it's sorry if it's confusing, but you will get used to it. You just need to sort of memorize as you go. But this is one of the key things about Alsace, is that there is different elevation depending on which part of it you are in. And it's a very, very dry wine growing area. And the reason it's such a dry area is because to the west of the region, Alsace, you have the Vosges Mountains. So the reason it's such a dry area is because the Vosges Mountains act as a rain shadow. So anytime there's a storm front coming for Alsace, as soon as the storm hits the mountains, the clouds dissipate, because at the elevation of the mountains, all the moisture in the storm front dissipates into snow. So the mountains have snow left on them, but all that's left in Alsace is just cool air, no rain. So it's a really cool climate, but not a really wet climate. And that makes it a really great environment for growing white grapes. So that's why actually of the 10 permitted grapes, because there are 10 that you can use to make an Alsace AOC wine, 9 of those 10 grapes are white. So I'm going to list them here for you. So the 9 of the 10 which are white grapes are Riesling, Muscat, Pinot Blanc, Chasselas, Gewurtztraminer, with no umlaut on the U, because they don't put an umlaut on the U. For some reason in Alsace they don't. And then Auxerrois, Pinot Gris, Sylvaner, and this one's a bit of a mouthful, Klevener de Heiligenstein. Klevener de Heiligenstein, also known as Sauvignon Rose. So that's the 9 of the 10 which are white grapes. And then on top of that, you have one red grape which is permitted, which is Pinot Noir. Because Pinot Noir, even though it's a red grape, is really good grape to grow in cool conditions. So sorry if this all seems a lot of information, but I'm gonna list these 10 grapes in the blurb as well. But yeah, the main thing to take from this initial video is that you're dealing with really dry climate. You've got mountains on one side creating a rain shadow, the Vosges Mountains. Then you've got the River Rhine on the other side. So you're on the border with Germany. And there's different elevations depending on whether you're in the north of Alsace or the south of Alsace. So there's a lot going on. I appreciate it seems quite complicated. There's quite a few things to memorize, but it's actually quite a simple region when you get to know it. There's just these 10 grapes that are grown, and 4 of these 10 grapes are considered noble, what you call the 4 noble grape varieties of Alsace. And so what they do is they are used to create Alsace Grand Cru wine. So that means they're just considered a slightly higher quality. You know, there's Alsace AOC. Any of those 10 grapes can make an Alsace AOC, whether they're single varietal, whether they're blended together, whether they're making a dry wine or a sweet wine. But the 4 noble grapes, they make exceptionally good wine, high quality. So the 4 of the 10 which are considered noble are Muscat, Riesling, Pinot Gris and Gewurtztraminer. So they're the 4 noble grapes. And that's kind of a good little intro for you of Alsace. The only other thing to add is that you can get sparkling wine made in Alsace, and the permitted grape for that is none of the 10 I've mentioned. Just to make it even more complicated, I'm going to add one more grape, and that's Chardonnay. So if you were going to get a Crémant d'Alsace, which is Crémant d'Alsace, it's its own AOC, Crémant d'Alsace AOC, that's with Chardonnay. So if you were going to have a sparkling wine, it wouldn't have any of those grapes, even if they were noble, even if they were Riesling, Muscat, whatever, it would always be Chardonnay. So that's a little bit of an intro, and I'm going to be following up the next few days with different sections talking in a bit more detail about this region.